Hello, my name is Martin Turney. I'm the Executive Director of Finance and Support Services for the Issaquah School District, and I'd like to take you through a few key Levy 2022 pieces of information. So what is on the ballot? So we have three propositions. The first, the Education Programs and Operations Levy. The second, the Capital Projects Levy. It consists of some technology and construction items. And third, the School Bus Levy. And the election date, just a reminder, April 26, 2022. So why is levy funding needed? The April 2022 levies ensure sufficient funding for day-to-day school operations, those things that are very important to what we do. Staff to support student mental health, including counselors, maintaining safety in our buildings, technology access for students, completion of high school number 4, that's the 4th comprehensive high school, purchasing replacement buses, and all of these things ensure that ISD students have equitable opportunities to succeed. So why is the EP&O levy funding needed? As a reminder, this is not a new tax, this is a renewal. In 2021-22, it provided 15.6% of the district's operating revenue. So then as you see in the pie chart on the right, this is a very significant amount of the resources we use to conduct day-to-day operations. So what does the EP&O levy help fund? Well, first, student services. Things such as school nurses, counselors, educator salaries. This is important to keep our class sizes lower. Mental health supports, instructional coaches, 7-period day in high schools, family partnership and equity programs, and extracurricular activities and athletics, those things that are not funded by the state in any way. Next, academic programs, things like special education. Unfortunately, special education is not fully funded by the state or the federal government. However, we have legal obligations we must adhere to. So the local levy funds this to the tune of about $7.2 million in the most recent budget. Also, English language learner program, highly capable program, elementary dual language, secondary summer school, and pre-K summer school. All things that the community has asked for and we've implemented over time and funded by the local levy. In addition, support services. So custodial services, most recently extremely important during the COVID response. We also fund maintenance and repair positions outside of what the state provides us, helping to keep our buildings up to date and properly maintained. School safety, our security systems, bus driver salaries, and school bus fuel and maintenance, those things that we do not get full funding from the state. So what does the capital levy help fund? Student and classroom technology. Again, this is a renewal. This is to pay for those technology items we expect for our students in and out of the classroom, and equitably updated technology for schools and classrooms. One enhancement in this area for this levy is what we're calling a hybrid 1-to-1. And that would mean in the middle and high schools, there would be one laptop to one student that they would take home. In the elementaries, in grades 3 to 5, there would be one laptop per one student that they would keep at school. Grades 1 and 2, there would be one laptop to 2 students that would stay at school. And in kindergarten, it would be one laptop to 3 students, again, staying at school. Another element of the capital levy includes critical repairs. Funding for critical repairs like maintaining our HVAC systems, making sure we do adequate roof repair. Safety, if we need to replenish different parts of our safety systems, our camera systems, those things that we rely on to keep students safe. That would be part of our critical repairs funding. So one additional element in this capital levy has to do with providing funding to be added to existing project funds from the 2016 bond to complete our 4th comprehensive high school. We are still seeing increased enrollment at our Skyline and Issaquah high schools, and the project to complete this 4th high school is still needed. We have seen increased costs due to some changes in city and neighborhood requirements, including additional green space between school sites and neighboring properties. We've had increases in overall construction-specific costs, and some unforeseen costs due to the global pandemic. So as this chart shows, we've continued to see increased enrollment at our high schools. Some of you may have heard that overall the district has seen some declining enrollment. We provide this to show that we continue to see at the high schools the enrollment increase, and where we needed additional space in 2015-16, we absolutely still need it in the year 21-22. So what does the school bus levy help fund? Every 4 years, the district puts a new plan together to make sure they have enough buses and keep them modernized to perform the routes needed in the district. The state reimburses the district about 2/3 of what it takes to fulfill this plan. And so locally, we ask for the other third to make sure that we can get this done. In this case, we're asking for a 1-year, $3 million levy. So what does the EP&O levy cost? As you can see, the proposed levy rate for the EP&O is estimated at $1.43 or $1.42. This is a 4-year levy, so it does vary a bit. The first year, the total generated amount is $61 million, going up to $70 million in the final year of 2026. So what does the capital levy cost? As you can see, again, this is a 4-year levy. The rate per thousand and total generated can vary a bit because we go through different technology purchase cycles. And so depending on the year, it can mean we're replenishing more or less of our inventory. What does the school bus levy cost? Again, this is a 1-year levy. The rate per thousand is fairly small at 7 cents, and total generated $3 million. Again, that $3 million is added to a larger plan and helps us execute a 4-year plan with 64 buses obtained. Okay, we also like to talk about the combined tax rate when we talk about the levies because there's another element of your tax rate, the local tax rate, and that includes the bonds. So as an example, the average combined tax rate over the last 2 years was $3.51 per thousand. This proposed tax rate, all things including bonds, would be $3.56 per thousand of assessed value starting in 2023. And the goal and what we're trying to achieve here is to keep that rate consistent with previous years. This shows what that combined tax rate has been over the last few decades, back to 1998. As you can see, it has varied over time, and the previous 4 years to 2023, it has hovered in the $3.56 range on average. The estimated for the levy 2022, again, is at $3.56, and we would try to maintain that consistency going forward. Okay, some frequently asked questions that we'd like to answer for you. What is the difference between a school bond and a school levy? Well, we often say levies are for learning, and when we say that, we're talking about the EP&O levy typically. Those are for the day-to-day operations and those important academic programs that we do here. These levies can also be used for capital improvements, and we talked a little bit about that when we talked about our capital levy. When we say bonds are for building, bonds are for those sizable capital improvements. Those are new buildings. Those are large remodels. And the previous bond for the school district, as mentioned before, was in 2016. When voters approve those, they are saying that the school district can borrow money to build, do those renovations and repairs, and then voters will repay that debt over time. So why can't emergency pandemic funds be used for these needs? You may have heard that school districts across the country were allocated COVID relief dollars. And depending on the school district, those dollars could be quite sizable. In the Issaquah School District, we received approximately $7 million. And in terms of our budget in the realm of $350 million, that is quite a small amount. And in fact, when we were initially responding to COVID, we spent multiples of that just in responding operationally to the pandemic. In addition, one key point is that these recovery dollars are not ongoing funds. And so where levy dollars give us those funds we need to operate on a year-to-year basis and do those key things that we do as a school district, one-time funds do not allow us to do that. So there's a state property tax for education. Why would we still need a local levy? So you may have heard a few years back, the state changed how they fund school districts and that we would be receiving additional funds compared to what we have historically. And that is true, and the amount that school districts receive or can ask for in local levies has been reduced. However, as mentioned, it still constitutes about 15.6% of our operating revenue, which is significant and again is critical to maintain those services and those items that we talked about earlier. So there's a state property tax for education. Why do we need a local levy? You may have heard that the state of Washington has increased funding for school districts over the last few years. And while that's true, we still rely heavily on those local levies. And as mentioned before, this constitutes about 15.6% of our operating revenue, and that's critical to continue all of those programs and operations that we mentioned earlier. What happens if property values increase? If property values go up, the tax rate is adjusted downward. The school district cannot collect more than the total amount approved by voters. Increases in property values do not generate more revenue for this school district. Do you have questions or would like more information? You can visit us at isd411.org/levies, or you can scan the QR code on the right. You can send us questions at isdcommunications@issaquah.wednet.edu, or you might want to follow Issaquah Schools on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.